Is this a Gemini problem?
No, I don't think so. I think it's really company specific, right? If you look at Microsoft and you look at their last quarter, and they're going to open their mouth tonight, you're left with a company whose supply is not meeting their demand, right? They need more compute power. They're working real hard to add that power, but that's going to take some time. We've seen Azure growth, decidedly better than expected and accelerating last quarter, that 36, 37, 38% type of number. Now I think we'll see a 38, 39% type number this quarter with another acceleration. There's no problem fundamentally with their business or with their ability to monetize AI. Gemini is doing great, and Alphabet is capitalizing on it. But I think Microsoft has its own issues. Meta, as an example, also reporting tonight. We own Meta as well in the Virtus Sylvan Focus Growth Fund. This is the cheapest of the stocks in the group. Even after the rally, it's up 22 times forward. So you've got a relatively discounted stock, but they're spending hand over fist, right? Yeah. They had a big CapEx spend last quarter, and you're left more specifically with, okay, where's the new return going to come from? We know ad spend is good. We suspect that the ROI on that ad spend continues to climb. But what other what other revenue streams will we see specifically from Meta to justify the massive CapEx? We need to see some guidance on that too. So Not just Gemini. We need a little bit more company-specific stuff to say, show me what you're doing, show me where the ROI is, show me where the CapEx is going, show me how you're meeting demand. I think company by company, these companies are going to look better or worse, sort of one at a time.
But I suppose there's two schools of thought on this. One is the Yardeni research, where I borrowed that kind of malevolent 7 idea from, which is basically that AI has put them all in each other's previously very well-protected moats. So, Microsoft and Meta, everyone's trying to be a chat bot. Everyone's now, even Google and Nvidia competing on chips. Like, that was not a thing before the rise of AI. So that's one school of thought, which is that some gains are coming at others' expense and they can't all continue to rise in their own lanes. The other school of thought, it sounds like you're maybe more in this camp, is kind of the Sam Lessin idea that ultimately AI will make all of these incumbents bigger, better, faster, stronger. And this is not really a big IPO story or anything like that, and the gains all accrue to the Mag 7. So is that kind of the argument that you're making?
I think you have to go a little bit. I think you have to go company by company, to your point. I do believe that you're right in the sense that these guys are definitely competing with each other in places they hadn't expected maybe 3 years ago. But that doesn't mean everyone will win in each of their spots, right? I don't see Meta, no matter how well they do in model delivery, necessarily, pushing Gemini out of the way and suddenly taking over search. However, I don't see Alphabet taking over social media the way Meta has. So they're still going to do all right in their lanes. The question then is, how much of the total market can they dominate while the incumbents come up? I think you're going to see more and more pressure for competition in multiple industries across these guys. But right now, we're still in those early stages, so it's a land grab. Spend as much as you can, as fast as you can, and make your processing, on a watt per token basis as efficient as possible. Try to get to that maximum, sort of capacity cost ratio as fast as you can, and you'll compete. I don't know if it's one or the other. I think it's probably a mix of the both. You're going to see winners and losers, even in the Mag 7, and even with the guys that are up and coming. I think it's a jump ball still.
Early on Wednesday, Nvidia's stock increased as investors applauded developments in the company's entry into the Chinese market, relieving a significant overhang that had been plaguing the stock for several months. Sentiment for the chipmaker was also bolstered by optimism about the ongoing funding impetus for artificial intelligence development, including possible financial assistance for OpenAI, the company that developed ChatGPT. Early trading saw Nvidia shares rise 1.6% to $191.81, moving the stock closer to the top of a band that it has mostly traded in since early November, roughly between $170 and $109. The move increased anticipation that if good news about China and AI spending keeps coming in, the stock would break out of that area. After months of regulatory uncertainty and close inspection of cutting-edge U.S.-made technology, the rally came after a Reuters story that China had cleared its first imports of Nvidia's H200 artificial intelligence chips. During Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang's visit to China this week, Chinese officials approved several 100,000 H200 chips, according to the article, which cited people familiar with the situation. According to reports, Three major Chinese internet corporations received the majority of the permissions, with other businesses waiting in line for subsequent batches. The action implies that Beijing is striking a balance between the urgent need for cutting-edge processing power to support data centers and massive AI projects, and its drive to build up domestic AI capabilities. After months of conflicting signals from Chinese policymakers, who have consistently emphasized semiconductor self-reliance while also wrestling with the practical limitations facing local developers, the move marks a significant relief. Due to restricted access to high-performance CPUs, Chinese AI businesses have encountered increasing constraints in the training and deployment of huge models. Many people believe that Nvidia's H200 is the most potent AI processor that China can actually get, given the existing export limitations imposed by the United States. The Institute for Progress think group claims that the H200 has a processing power advantage of about 32% over Huawei's Ascend 910NC, which is presently the most sophisticated AI chip made in the country. Because of this performance disparity, Chinese developers are vying for Nvidia's hardware in an effort to stay up with the world's artificial intelligence advancements. For a number of months, Nvidia's stock has been range-bound as investors balance the robust demand for AI around the world with the geopolitical and regulatory dangers associated with China. Even though Nvidia continued to post impressive results elsewhere, the shares struggled to move significantly higher, due in large part to the lack of consistent success on Chinese sales. The announcement on Wednesday offered one of the most convincing signs to yet that the China issue might be getting closer to being resolved, at least in part. As a result, some investors are reevaluating the stock's short-term direction. A confirmed increase in Chinese exports could spur additional gains, especially if it corresponds with ongoing investment in AI systems worldwide, as shares are already at the top of their recent trading range. The H200 import news demonstrates to you as an investor how closely policy changes in major markets affect Nvidia's growth prospects. In addition to opening the door to demand from Chinese platforms, the approvals take place in a context where export regulations, geopolitical unrest, and China's ambitions to develop its own chip capabilities may affect the market's long-term accessibility. Join our investor community. Hit subscribe and like to get your daily Nvidia stock insights and tutorials delivered. The information revealed on Wednesday that Nvidia, Amazon, and Microsoft are in discussions to invest up to $60 billion in OpenAI. According to a person with knowledge of the matter, the information said that Nvidia, an existing investor whose chips fuel OpenAI's AI models, is in negotiations to spend up to $30 billion. According to the article, Microsoft, a longtime supporter, is in negotiations to provide less than $10 billion. Amazon, a potential new investor, is reportedly in talks to contribute far more than $10 billion, possibly even more than $20 billion, it was noted. According to the research, these companies are almost ready to provide OpenAI with term sheets or an investment commitment. Nvidia and OpenAI did not immediately reply to Reuters' requests for comment outside of usual business hours, while Amazon and Microsoft declined to comment. A commercial agreement for OpenAI to sell its goods, such enterprise ChatGPT subscriptions, to Amazon, as well as a potential expansion of OpenAI's cloud server leasing relationship with Amazon, could be the basis for Amazon's investment, according to the information. This comes after earlier this week's news that SoftBank Group is in negotiations to invest up to $30 billion more in OpenAI. As competition from Alphabet's Google intensifies, OpenAI is struggling with growing expenses to train and operate its AI models. Over the last 10 years, Nvidia's stock increased by 26,960%. The increasing popularity of artificial intelligence AI applications was a major factor in that growth. Originally primarily utilized for video game graphics rendering, Nvidia's discrete GPUs were well suited to complicated AI applications due to their ability to conduct multiple tasks at the same time. This distinguished them from CPUs, which were designed to handle sequential tasks. Following those enormous gains, some investors might be hesitant to pursue Nvidia's stock. However, a single factor, the explosive demand for updates to AI infrastructure to enable the newest AI applications, could push its stock much higher in 2026. Why would Nvidia's stock rise as a result of that trend? Fortune Business Insights estimates that the global AI infrastructure market might expand at a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 29.1% between 2025 and 2032, as more data centers upgrade their AI processors. According to carbon credits, Nvidia currently holds a market share of over 90% in the discrete GPU industry. Through AI-oriented architecture improvements, such as Turing, 2019, Ampere, 2020, Hopper, 2022, and Blackwell, 2024, it was able to maintain its lead in the rapidly expanding data center market. Additionally, Nvidia uses CUDA, a proprietary programming framework tailored for its own CPUs, to lock in its clients. To further expand its market share, it now packages its processors with networking hardware, software, and services. Nvidia's data center processors have been purchased for billions of dollars by the majority of the leading AI firms in the world, such as Microsoft, OpenAI, and Meta platforms. AMD's less expensive data center GPUs and Broadcom's proprietary AI accelerators for hyperscalers are two competitors of Nvidia. However, there may be plenty of space for all of these top AI chip manufacturers to expand without interfering with one another. Furthermore, most AI businesses should choose Nvidia as their chipmaker of choice due to its reputation as the best in breed, its rapid deployments, and the sticky nature of its prisoner-taking environment. In short, Nvidia should continue to be a key player in the AI infrastructure market and offer the greatest picks and shovels for general-purpose AI applications. Analysts predict that Nvidia's revenue and profits per share, EPS, would increase at CAGRs of 47% and 45% respectively between fiscal 2025, which concluded in January, and fiscal 2028. It should continue to be one of the easiest ways to benefit from the long-term growth of the AI business, and they are remarkable growth rates for a stock that trades at 27 times next year's earnings. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
If you look at the divergence between, say, the NASDAQ and the Russell, you can see basically over the past 5 trading days or so, there was a bit of an unwind. The Russell had run up and it got to a pretty hot RSI. And over the past 5 days, now we're seeing that money rotate back into tech. That makes sense because we've got mega cap tech that's coming up on deck. And, you were just talking about ASML and Seagate that reported numbers there. I mean, look at the bookings that ASML delivered. I mean, it was almost double estimates. Go back to TSMC that reported last week, and the read-through in terms of demand that's going on this AI infrastructure bill. And then, you got the S&P at all-time highs. You've got GDP clipping 4 to 5%. This is primarily driven by the largest infrastructure build-out in history. It's all the CapEx and investment that is going through. And you're getting all of these data points that are suggesting, if you listen to the executive commentary from a lot of these, whether it's the memory makers or whether it's the semiconductor equipment makers, like we're going to hear from Lam Research today, but like ASML, they're calling this a multi-year build-out. So, it's funny, we're going to have the Fed today, and, there's not a lot of expectations there. We may get 1, maybe 2 cuts this year, but, Sam, as long as we are doing this type of growth and this type of demand, because AI, of course, AI is just not focused or it's not centered around the tech sector. It goes out into industrials, a lot of blue collar workers, et cetera. And that just has this kind of trickle down throughout the economy, which is really good for growth. And, if we don't get any cuts this year, I don't think that's going to matter as long as, there's this kind of strength that's in the backdrop. Now, underneath the surface, you're going to have to be very selective where you are within tech. We're going to hear from ServiceNow later today, software. Many of those big, large cap names that are very popular, Wix, Workday, ServiceNow, et cetera, Salesforce, they've all been hitting 52-week lows while the market's hitting new highs. So let's see what ServiceNow says. That's going to be an interesting data point as well. And then, of course, in regard to mega cap tech, CapEx is going to be interesting. we probably don't want it, our investors probably don't want it to be too hot, and they probably don't want it to be too cold. So that's going to be an interesting read-through. I'm not sure exactly how markets are going to respond to those CapEx numbers when they come out.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Meta response was a bit of a surprise last time around. So let's see. Hey, Mike, let's just switch gears to you. We've got some comments coming out from Bessent regarding, of course, the next Fed chair, saying he doesn't make recommendations. He just gives options. They have 4 great candidates now lined up. They've been talking about this on the plane back from Iowa. Just talk us through, how you're thinking about what we're likely to get from the FOMC today, and then obviously looking into the future, because I think obviously the decision seems to be pretty well priced in at this stage. It's just a bit of a wild card as to what we're going to get with respect to any of those announcements. I mean, who might be the next Fed chair and how they're thinking about the future path of rates, particularly given what Nate said with this acceleration of growth.
Yeah, Sam, great to see you. What an interesting Fed day. I mean, we haven't had a day when Fed monetary policy decision was quite as much of feels like a non-event as it is today. Obviously, the overwhelming market expectation is that the Fed will hold steady. I am going to keep my eye on how many dissents there are. Of course, there were 3 last time. And we do have 4 new FOMC voters. You got 4 regional Fed presidents from Cleveland, Dallas, Minneapolis, and Philadelphia who are rotating on here.